viewers, and today we are very fortunate and we are very grateful that we are joined by one of our own in the Department of Public Relations, who is none other than Dr. Michael Bhebhe. Doctor, welcome to the platform in TV.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So without wasting much of our time, we'll get into today's business, and we'll be looking into what really inspired this man here to join our trust. So my first question, Dr. Michael Bhebhe, is how did you get into this field of drug research and development?
Okay, my journey spans over 15 years from now. The past 15 years, I started working on promoting indigenous fruits and herbs because there was a high regard of those kinds of products from which are local, indigenous herbs, indigenous fruits as a poor man's food, largely because the current or the present day consumer was more concerned with things that have been tested in the lab, things that have been quantified, and there was very little of our indigenous fruits and herbs that have been researched upon. So that's where I started this journey back then, to try and unearth most of these phytochemicals, most of these key active ingredients in herbs that are beneficial health-wise and nutritionally as well. So that's how I started to jump into this whole business of trying to unravel most of these indigenous fruits and herbs, and hopefully give more gravity, add more value to them, to the present day consumer, because the current consumer is more concerned with things that are quantified. So I was the person who was supposed to go there, dig in the nutrients, dig in the active ingredients, the medicines, the herbs, the chemicals, and then show to the people that, you know what, these local plants are also as good. So my area of start was herbal teas for herbs, rather in the interest of Edrand. Herbal teas, we did not have in the past 15 years ago, we did not have indigenous herbs or indigenous herbal teas being sold in any of the upstream markets, in the supermarkets, Pick and Pay, OK, Food Lovers, and them, largely because of the reasons that I've highlighted. So I was the scientist to bring them up. Rooibos was like one of the main teas that was drunk in Zimbabwe. And yet we had our own Zubani and our own Makoni, Mfandichimuka, and a lot of these other teas. But no one knew anything about our teas. But fast forward 15 years later, now we know of Zubani, we know of Makoni, we know of all these other teas which are very good, equally good and even better than these plants or teas that were being consumed at that time. So that's how I then developed that interest in drug development, because I noticed that there is a lot of treasure hidden in our indigenous plants from Zimbabwe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Doc, for well articulating that question. Bhebhe, for answering the first question in a very good manner. Now, moving on to the second question, what are your interests, or what is your interest in the development of drugs from natural remedies?
Yeah, my main interest is advocating for local Zimbabwean plants. I know in South Africa they have a lot of plants that have that they're working tirelessly to bring out as valuable in the field of pharmaceuticals, but we have very little knowledge, or there is less noise about Zimbabwean indigenous plants So my main interest is on local plants to be really taken to another level that is higher than where they are. So far, our local plants are regarded as poor man's food or poor man's resources for health. So anyone who has more money, anyone who is affluent, usually goes to a hospital where you don't find any products from our indigenous plants. But if you go to South Africa, or if you go to countries like India and other developed worlds, you'll find there's a herbal option. Ayurveda in India, you can actually go to a herbal clinic and get sorted out. But in the event that that kind of knowledge or pressure trickles down to this part of the world, will they find anything to use? Instead of us importing Indian herbs, Oriental herbs, we should have derived being one of the databases for local plants that can be developed into drugs. Already, we should be the ones on the path of developing local plants into drugs for Zimbabwe and also the whole planet as a whole. So my role in EDRAD currently is to make sure that the population in our region or the world at large gets to know about Zimbabwe as a very rich source of natural remedies than it has been known. Zimbabwe is known for many other things but herbal medicine. So that's my main interest in this trust.
Okay, thank you. I have no doubts, Dr. Michael Bhebhe, that this discussion is being fairly conjectured. Justice has been done. So my last question is, where exactly do you see it at in the next 5 years from now?
Well, I'm hoping that in the next 5 years, Edward should be influencing policies in the country which advocate for preservation of certain plants or propagation of indigenous knowledge systems for plants that are beneficial to health. Instead of going to the bush to dig for the plants, I'm hoping that by then, 5 years from now, Edward would have reached a point where the policy makers can open an ear and listen to the direction of growing and expanding plantations of useful plants in the country. I think that's where I'm hoping that we could be in the next 5 years if we do things the right way. All things health constant. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Bhebhe, for your precious time. And I hope in the next 5 years, as you have just mentioned, we'll be there. Thank you.
Kufunda kwetu kutanga kwerimwe kuna kwerimweka nyura kwetu kupera kwerimwe kuna kwerimweka kufunda kwetu kutanga kwerimwe kuna kwerimweka nyura kwetu kupera kwerimwe kuna kwerimweka dokupindana kwa mazuva ichitofamba zvayo nguva haigona kutambisa mukana shandisa nguva uchaiwana dokupindana kwa mazuva ichitofamba zvayo nguva haigona kutambisa mukana shandisa nguva uchaiwana irongere ramangwana ramangwana rironge rirongere ramangwana rirongere ramangwana rironge You gotta seek the light that you want. You gotta walk that mile that you need. You gotta give it time and just think. Oh yeah, yeah. You gotta seek that light that you want. You gotta walk that mile that you need. You gotta give it time and just think. Oh yeah, yeah. Kutangwezuwa kutanga kwerimwe, ona kwerimweka. Kunyura kwezuwa kupera kwerimwe, ona kwerimweka. Kubuda kwezuwa kutanga kwerimwe, ona kwerimweka. Kunyura kwezuwa kupera kwerimwe, ona kwerimweka. Dokupindana kwa mazuva ichitofamba zvayo nguva, haigona kutambisa mukati. Shandisa nguva uchaiwa.